Please welcome Eric Johnson to begin Babson's first ever joint commencement address.
Hello. Actually, before I start my comments, as I've listened to all the things today, I must say that we can leave Babson College, but Babson College will never leave us. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, President Spinelli, Babson faculty and staff, family and friends, and most importantly, the graduates of the class of 2024. It is an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to address you here today. And I have the distinct honor of sharing this podium with my daughter and family business partner of 24 years, Erin Tolefree. And she will share her views of sustaining leadership and business evolution. She'll also be my tough timekeeper. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois in the 1950s, and Chicago was a ripe environment and place for African American business development and a booming city in every respect. My father, George Johnson, was the founder of what became the first African American-owned company to ever become public in the United States, Johnson Products Company. Thank you. Johnson Products Company was the maker of Ultra Sheen and Afro Sheen hair products and the sponsors and producers of Soul Train, which turned it into a nationally syndicated phenomenon. In high school, like most of us, I was assigned a college counselor, and I've never been shy. And I always went in there. One time, I introduced myself, and I asked her what was the best undergraduate school of business in the country. And the counselor told me, Babson Institute, but you probably don't need to apply. I said, thank you. I stood up, I shook her hand, promptly left her office, and never returned. Arriving home that evening, having to catch up, I did the research because I had never heard of Babson. And after researching it, convinced my parents that it was the place for me. And as I look back at my years at Babson, I see three very important hallmarks of my Babson experience. Number one, as we've talked about, forming the Black Student Union as a support system and recruiting body for African diaspora students. Number two, I was blessed to be the student representative of the management department in my junior year and had the privilege of working with Dr. John Hornaday on the creation of the Entrepreneurial Studies program. And a large part of what we had to do was pull together documents and research because there was a lot of discussion in academic circles as to whether or not this was a valid academic subject. And many experts questioned if it could actually teach entrepreneurship. Well, clearly they were wrong. And finally, my Babson experience itself, because that helped me to validate that I was ready for the competitive environment of business. I had gone to school with many of the people that I would compete with for the rest of my life. And that ability to confirm allows students to leave this institution with a confidence that few places in the world can equal. And it is at the root of why I've been so willing to give back to this institution. After graduation, once I began working in the family business, I quickly realized that basically anything I did was all right. My managers were not going to critique me because I was the son of the president and owner. So I made the difficult but necessary decision and left the business, and in 1972 joined Procter & Gamble, which at that time was known as the best consumer products company in the world. And after 3 years in that program, I returned to Johnson Products Company, now with a lot more knowledge and a much more significantly stronger work ethic. I remember my uncle, who was vice president of sales, made it very clear to me that in order for me to ever get a promotion, I had to be significantly better than any other candidate for that job, and that I would lose any tie. And that standard and that expectation is still alive in Baldwin Richardson Foods Company today. When I became president of Johnson Products in 1989, our stock, which had been as high as $50 a share, was valued at $2.50. On that day, we also announced and confirmed our fourth loss in 5 years due to heavy competition, and the company was basically in survival mode. I was energized. I was actually happy because I knew that this was my best opportunity to lay to rest any claims that I got there because I was a son of the president and owner. And after reinstating the salary cuts that our employees had taken of 15%, I stated that the company that had just lost $4.8 million and one that makes $4.8 million would be done in the same building, with the same brands, with the same equipment, but that the difference would be in the motivation of the people. In 1 year, we turned that loss into a $1.8 million profit, and the following year into a $4.7 million profit, and we were the 7th best performing stock on the American Stock Exchange, and we won the American Management Turnaround Award. So like you, I should be celebrating. The company was profitable. We were successful again. Our stock was at $26 a share, but I was miserable, very unhappy, and I was not satisfied. And there was a voice in my head that said that this lifelong goal was not my purpose. And I decided that while I didn't understand everything about that feeling, it was important for me to follow that path. And I decided to leave the company in 1992 to define and seek my own value. In September of 1992, I closed a transaction to buy Baldwin Ice Cream Company, a small regional brand that had been around since 1921 with less than $3 million in sales. In 1997, after quadrupling the size of Baldwin Ice Cream, I was able to buy Richardson Foods from the Quaker Oats Company. And by 2005, Baldwin Richardson Foods had grown to be over $100 million in revenue. Our company has 5 shared values. They support our business and our customer value proposition. They are very basic. People first, our commitment to people. Service to our customers. Honesty and integrity. Meeting our goals. And performance for financial success. And all of these are under a banner of commitment and relentless pursuit of excellence. In order to retain real values, there can never be a time or an event when they are compromised. You either have values or you don't. There are no exceptions. And as our business grew, so did the challenges. Reinvention became a regular exercise, but I was always firmly supported by some very simple basics and my Babson experience. Because basic concepts are very easy to state, but they're very difficult to master. They say repetition makes the master. And these set of values and concepts that I constantly depend on, a few of which I'll share with you today. 1, if you understand, you don't have to remember. So if you really understand what's happening in an organization and you think about what's happening in an organization, that long list of things that you've written down in the meeting are not your guide. Your guide is to be aware and active and engaged in the things that are happening around you and be an active participant in their solution. Secondly, without action, nothing is going to happen that will produce a result. And that includes deliberately not doing something. Because when you do that, you know that it's going to produce a result. And thirdly, whether you lead an organization or a department or a division, every day that we wake up, we have the responsibility to provide for the welfare, the goals, the dreams, the vacations, the aspirations of all of our employees and their families. They depend on us to make good decisions for their welfare. And with that, you will build immense amounts of trust. And finally, there are three general categories of people in this world. There are those who need help, physical and mental, or otherwise just not capable of taking care of themselves. There are people who are very self-sufficient. They work, they raise a family, they manage to live an independently successful life. And there are those of us who have the responsibility and the capacity to help ourselves and others. And that is a requirement. Roger Babson believed in giving back and good corporate citizenship. So my pledge is, let's keep that dream alive and build a better society because we care. Today, at over $500 million in sales, Erin represents the next generation of our business, and she will share with you in a few minutes her vision and process. But what you will see very vividly is how and why change is necessary when successful organizations grow beyond the founder stage. So please allow me to introduce our next speaker, my daughter, Erin Tolefree, CEO of Baldwin Richardson Foods Company.
Thank you, Eric. I guess I can say Dad today. Thank you to President Spinelli, Babson's governance members, faculty, staff, friends, family, and of course, the class of 2024. It is an incredible honor to be here today, not just because I'm following in the words of my father, who is also my mentor and today my business partner, because I have the privilege of following in the footsteps of two generations with my grandfather, George Johnson, who's actually live streaming today, having delivered this commencement address in 1976. It's okay. "48 years later, I consider it a great privilege to share with you how the entrepreneurial endeavors of two great leaders paved the way for me to stand before you today. As far back as I can remember, my life feels like it has been one long lesson of entrepreneurial leadership. At the age of 5, I remember riding into the offices of Johnson Products with my grandfather from the North Shore of Chicago. I can smell the inside of his car just like it was yesterday. I would follow him up to the second floor, get dropped off, and my sister Cara and I, who's here, would go to work for the day. Imagine a sea of 50 or 60 desks, which seemed enormous at the time. Our job was to make sure everyone had all the office supplies they needed for the day. And my sister and I took our obligation very seriously to make sure we got it right. On those days, after lunch, we'd head down and get our hair done in the test salon, trying and learning about all the new hair products in the Johnson Products portfolio. And my favorite part, directly after, we'd head over to my father's office, distinctly different from the corner office of my grandfather, but neatly situated and surrounded by plastic curtains right in the middle of the production floor, in the center of all the action. From these experiences and others early in my life, I knew I loved being part of this entrepreneurial family. And of course, it felt glamorous on days like this because I didn't have to deal with any of the day-to-day stresses of entrepreneurship. But over time, I also got to see the late nights, the worries, and the challenging times, and it never discouraged me. As I grew older, my early exposure to the business paid off, and I got to put some of my own curiosity and entrepreneurial ideas into action. I was able to do this because of my dad and from his entrepreneurial instinct and his Babson education. Those lessons went way beyond how to run a business. See, he had learned in life and in the classroom that entrepreneurship is the pathway to impact, to providing opportunities where they otherwise might not exist, and that entrepreneurship can drive real economic impact in your community. And today, that is a foundational philosophy in how we lead Baldwin Richardson Foods. We are guided by our mantra of what we do well enables us to do good. And what does that mean? It means good for our customers, who we work to delight with safe, high quality, and delicious products every day, most notably, and hopefully you guys have recognized these, Grimace and Shamrock Shakes. Anybody? Nutri-Grain bar fillings, Frappuccinos, and so many more fun and iconic products. It's good for our people who, through delivering exceptional results, can make a positive impact on their lives, their families, and their careers. And good for the places we live, where we can create access to opportunities and pathways for others. And this is perhaps most notably evidenced in the brilliance of and post-collegiate paths of our Babson and Spelman College, my alma mater, scholars already. Babson drills into its students that you have to be committed to impact, and this value guides me as strongly as if I had attended college here myself. I'd like to share a story about how our North Star, our values, and our mantra have allowed our business to thrive. A few short years ago, when the pandemic hit, the world shut down, our world slowed, and seemingly our inventories skyrocketed overnight. Many companies in our industry slowed down or shut down, sending their people home. For us, deciding what to do came down to one simple question. Did we mean it when we said our people were our most valuable asset? And if so, being guided by our values made our decision and our path forward very simple. BRF would be the place of safety and stability for every employee of our organization. We quickly rallied around the notion of our responsibility to feed America, keeping drive-throughs stocked and grocery stores filled with our delicious products. We recognized the importance of our frontline team in delivering on this mission and instituted hero pay, keeping every single person that could work as part of our team. And so what happened? We kept people in stable employment and steady paychecks in the face of record high unemployment. And together, we achieved record results powered by a sense of unity and purpose that still inspires and drives our one team culture today. So since that time, we've experienced tremendous growth, going from 260 to over 700 employees today, and are on an accelerated path to becoming a billion-dollar enterprise. In the beginning, Baldwin Richardson Foods was an example and a vision created by my father of what is possible and a desire to build through excellent service to our customers and to valuing our people to become a leader in the industry. And today, we are a shining beacon of what is possible. Yes, we are Black-owned. Yes, we are women-led. And we are a multi-generational leader in our industry, and we take that responsibility extremely seriously and know that we are an inspiration and a template for others to follow. We know there are young Black men and women looking out to us. There are family businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs watching how we approach things. And there's a fourth generation watching and waiting in the wings. I am extremely privileged to lead this business with my amazing business partner and sister, Cara Hughes, who's here today, who leads all things customer and community impact at Baldwin Richardson Foods. And among our siblings, we have children who may be interested in joining the business someday. I had the great privilege for several years to work alongside my brother, John Johnson, a Babson alumnus and trustee, who brought a push for adoption and technology into our operations before going on to pursue his own entrepreneurial ventures. And just to round it out, our other sibling, Lucretia Capista, is not in the business directly, but supports our people engagement strategy through organizing events and concepts that help strengthen our great place to work culture. So as we think about the next generation, we're conscious that their education is already well underway, simply from the front row seats they have been exposed to from an early age, not too different from our own upbringing. We also consider a Babson education to be a desired and encouraged part of rounding out their collective educational journeys. And they're already being guided by the things my dad, and as a result, our entire family learned here at Babson College. Today, Babson graduates another class of students into the world, which means the world becomes a better place than it was yesterday. A world that values impact more than it did yesterday, that values people more than it did yesterday. I think you will find, as our family has found, that as long as you set those values as your North Star, you will never go wrong. Congratulations to the class of 2024, and may following your values and your passion lead you to achieve limitless possibilities.